Hello from YWAM Orlando. What an exciting week we've had here. You know, this Monday we had the slab that I'm standing on poured, and I'll tell you more about that later. We had our permits for the turn lane and the widening of the county road out front, which is critical because it's required by the government before we can build and occupy new buildings. We've had the provision and a commitment to build that road. Somebody provided the asphalt for that road, and we just go, God, you are so absolutely faithful. You know, it's been over 30 years since God spoke the vision of developing a major missions training launch pad. And it's been a long, long journey, but God has been so faithful. Over the years, we've seen over 7,000 young people trained, carrying the gospel to the nations, reaching over 500,000 people in 84 nations. And you've been a part of that as you stood with us in prayer. We recognize this is not something any of us could do or all of us together could do. It's really many, many miracles from the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords that has made all this possible. You know, when we got here on this property over 15 and a half years ago, there was no water, no power, no sewage. Not one building was useful because the salvagers had destroyed everything. And over those years, we've been able to renovate all those things with your help, and more importantly, with God's help and provision. We've been able to renovate all those things. And since 2019, we've been working to be able to build something new. You know, master plan, phase 1 site plan. This last year, we've seen roads provided and built on our campus. We've seen added a water and sewage main put in there and other parts of infrastructure. And we just stand in awe of the greatness of God. But this slab represents something, you know, it looks like just a slab, but for me, it is so exciting. It represents the very first new building on this campus. And the building is for our staff housing. It's a 2-story staff cottage or staff house. And we have 4 more that have been provided for already. We have a partner, a couple that have just agreed to fund those 4. And we've just been so excited for that. Why? Because in order to train a generation to carry the gospel to the nations, we have to have what we call a live-learn environment. Our model is discipleship and mentoring. So it's not just about transference of information from the lecturer in a classroom to the notebook of a student, but it's about transformation of hearts and minds. The Bible tells us in Romans 12:1 and 2, particularly 2, do not be conformed any longer to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. That transformation is really more of a heart piece, and it takes staff and students walking closely together, sharing meals together, having walks and one-on-one conversations about what those truths in class meant, and then going on outreach with those same staff and carrying the gospel to the nations and connecting the dots between what was learned in the classroom and what they're experiencing on the field as they share their faith and see lives transformed forever. We are committed to training a generation to carry the gospel to the ends of the earth until everyone has heard the gospel. Everyone has a Bible in their heart language. Everyone has an opportunity to be discipled. And we're committed to doing this by the grace of God until all have heard.